Hello and hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing? So yesterday on Last Week in Germany, I came across this topic right here. Boom. What's something small in Germany that made you think, wow, this is actually so smart? Which I thought sounded fascinating. In fact, so fascinating, I decided, you know what? I'm not actually even going to react to this today, which was yesterday. I'm going to make it a whole video, which is today. This is getting confusing. Anyway, yesterday and tomorrow is now today. So I'm going to react to this. During my last visit to Germany, I found myself surprised by the little things, like how organized public transport is, or how bottle deposit fond encourages recycling in a way that works. Ahaha! I'm still holding on to this for my fund. I mean, what's kind of interesting is back in the day, in like New York City and stuff at least, you used to be able to sell your aluminum cans here in America. It wasn't like an official system. It was actually just a capitalist solution to the problem, really. Interestingly, I mean, you could just go sell your aluminum cans to, whatever, as scrap metal, and people would pay 10 cents a can. So in a way, that was like a fund. I actually did see a sign for a place still today here in Indiana that said, "We buy aluminum cans." So in a way, that was kind of like a fond. It's just way less convenient because it's not at the grocery store. It's at some junkyard in the middle of nowhere. And they would think you're crazy if you brought just like one can. The idea is more so to bring like a truck bed full of cans. Anyway, it made me curious. What are some small everyday things in Germany that you think are genius, but maybe go unnoticed because people are used to them? Ah, yes. See, the only problem with that is you guys might not even know. By the very nature of this type of question, you might not even know just how genius something is because you're so used to it. But I do think those are the most interesting things, the small things. It could be something cultural, something from daily life, or even something that only a visitor would pick up on. Would love to hear what makes Germany feel thoughtfully designed to you. What a great thread. I haven't even read it yet, but I can tell. Top comment. Definitely the windows. That is an obvious choice. I have a history. My history on the German windows is well documented.
Rolatins. Rolatins are these metal or
The windows are definitely top tier, although I will say an interesting consequence to them being different than American windows, as you guys pointed out in a video a couple days ago in the comments. I don't know, it all gets scrambled together in my brain. But I had mentioned the window AC units that you can buy, at least over here in America. You open the window, you put the AC unit in it, and you shut the window on top of it, and it holds it there. You plug it in, and you've got AC. And I'm like, why don't you guys just get one of those? Just in case there's a heat wave. And you guys were like, well, our windows don't really, it doesn't really fit. Wouldn't really work. And that makes sense. And if you're unaware, I'm pretty sure the physics or something about the way an air conditioner works, it needs that opening to the outside, because it needs to, for all the cold air it makes just as much hot air, so it needs to blow that out the back. Or have a place to push that outside the house. Or else you're essentially just making cold air on one side and hot air on the other side. So that's why it needs to be in a window. And like I said before, you would be a billionaire. I believe it. You'd be a billionaire if you make the German window AC unit that fits a German window. The fact that you can generate a code from the Deutsche Post mobile app and scribble it on an envelope as postage stamp. It's such a contradiction in an otherwise digitally illiterate society. I really like that. That's really neat. It uses some kind of encryption magic to give you a private key type thing that you put on the envelope. That's genius. It's kind of random, but I was just thinking about today how an interesting property, and I know that some people will roll their eyes the second I say this word, and I do too, to be honest, a little bit. because there's so much fraud associated with it. But an interesting property of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin is that you can essentially do that same type of thing where you can put some of it into a wallet address and scribble the private key down in an envelope and give it to somebody, you know, or on a piece of paper, or you could put it in an email and just send it to somebody. And then that person, you're essentially sending them that cryptocurrency, like, but in a physical way. It's just weird. And that reminded me of that. That's really interesting. Very smart. In an otherwise digitally illiterate society, rarely was I so angry at a sentence while agreeing so much at the same time. Might be in the minority, but the waiters don't interrupt. Sorry, I don't know why I'm doing a British accent. A bad one at that. The waiters don't interrupt every few minutes while I'm trying to enjoy my meal and have a conversation, but I am also an introvert, which is just the reason I don't feel like Germans are unfriendly. They just leave me alone, which I love. That's quite fascinating. You know, I am much of an introvert myself, so I can really appreciate that idea. That sometimes you just want to be left alone. You don't want to talk. And part of it's just that I'm not good at small talk, okay? Just not good at it. So it's a real problem being here in America and not being good at small talk. So I would really appreciate that about Germany. Now, specifically about waiters, though, I have to say, I think when you're American, at least, and you become accustomed to the waiter kind of like being there every 10 minutes to see if you need anything, I would kind of feel like I would not be happy if they just didn't show up for like half an hour and I'm trying to get a refill. I mean, that's just how it is here in America. Like, you just have those expectations. Like, if your drink is empty, you expect the waiter to notice before it's empty and get you a refill. Then again, refills are free. I don't know. Some waiters, though, are way too much. It is definitely a balancing act. And they talk too much, too. That's the thing. I don't mind if a waiter just comes by and, you know, everything okay? Okay. Walks away. But some just love to sit there and chat. Anyway. Lockers that return your money. Oh, it's kind of like the shopping carts at Aldi's that return your money, don't they? I've seen that. It's so nice to be able to go somewhere like a museum and lock up the stuff you don't want to carry around, especially in the winter. Put a euro in, the key releases so you use the locker. When you put the key back, the euro is returned. Yeah, that's exactly like the shopping carts, huh? It's interesting because we don't use that mechanism here in America at all. I don't think I've ever seen that mechanism. You know, where you essentially deposit some money mechanically into something, and then when you physically return it, it gives you your money back. That is really cool. I mean, we have lockers kind of like that, except they don't give you your money back. You just give the money, it gives you a key, and then that's it. You don't get your money back. The radiator in the bathroom, designed to be used as a towel rack. The inventor deserves a Nobel Prize. What? Is that not a fire hazard? What? So it heats your towel? That's freaking genius.
As I'm sure you're aware, there weren't any troubles with whatsoever. So there we go, guys, all done. The radiator is on now, and if I just show you the sensor calibration, look at that, lovely. If you'd enjoy this video, I'm sure you'll enjoy it this.
That's genius. We don't use radiators much here in America anymore, so I've never seen that. Paying at restaurants. Where I come from, if you're in a group, you still get one bill. That's annoying. And then, bearing in mind I left the country before cashless systems became common, everyone puts as much money as they think they owe into a pile on the table. Only nobody has the exact change on them, so there's a long period of, can anyone change a fiver? A fiver? That sounds like Australia. And if you give me that pound, then Charlie can give me €5. Okay, but it's euros, so I don't know where this would be. Susan owes, maybe like the UK or something. Back in the day. Wait, did the UK... Oh, wait, yeah, this must be the UK. I always get this symbol and the euro symbol mixed up. That's a pound. Anyway, Somebody suggests just splitting the bill equally, but that's vetoed by the guy who only has 2 mango lassis and a samosa. Yeah, that would be me. I'd be vetoing that. Hell no, dude. I read the menu from right to left, so I'm purposely picking the cheapest thing on the menu. So I'm not paying for everybody else's food. I know that makes me a dick, but oh well. And the ensuing argument lasts a week. Maybe things have changed since I left, but that's how I remember it. In Germany, the server goes around the table asking each person in turn what they had, calculates what they owe, and each person pays separately. Interesting. The waiter comes to you and asks you what you had. In America, they're just keeping track of what each person ate, and then at the end they say, okay, like, how are we doing the bill? Is it 2 different bills? Is it everybody separate? And then, yeah. This way, at least, though, they would never screw it up, because once in a while here in America, they screw it up. Like, you'll get your bill, you'll look at it, you'll be like, what? Why is this triple what I ordered? I mean, luckily it's itemized, so you could see what it is. But yeah, then you have to get it fixed. It's a whole thing. While by no means perfect, some people are cruel to animals. I want to stress the fact that our animal shelters are all no-kill shelters. That's pretty amazing. That's really cool. I wonder how they don't just like fill up. There's a lot of shelters around like where I live that are basically no-kill shelters. They'll only kill under like circumstances where it's like if you know, the dog is going to die anyway or whatever, if they're suffering. But the problem is that they're always full. Voluntary services by large parts of the population, like the fire departments. There are far more voluntary firefighters than professional firefighters. That means if you personally are ever in the situation that you need the fire department, chances are very high that the guys and gals coming to your rescue are random teachers, electricians, IT folks, or supermarket cashiers who spend their free time volunteering and answering calls for help. Or take the technische Hilfswerk. Those guys and gals are always ready to ship out to help in crisis. That is pretty remarkable. I guess I'm just not a good enough person because I can't really imagine volunteering my time to spend my free time doing that. That just seems like a huge commitment. So it's very noble of these people to do that. That exists to a much smaller extent here in America. Like the volunteer fire departments are pretty much only in small towns, you know, that aren't really big enough to have a full-blown fire department. They have a volunteer fire department. This person makes an interesting point about how the pond system is not just for recycling, but also reduces litter and provides a quasi-low-skilled, honest employment for homeless people. That is quite interesting. I hadn't considered how it is an incentive to not litter. That's pretty neat. I'm trying to figure out exactly what they mean by this. Quasi-low skilled. I mean, if we're talking about collecting cans, that's obviously very low skilled. There's no skill in that. No offense. But honest employment for homeless people. Like, are we talking about them collecting cans? But how many cans are there? Like, that can't actually be a reasonable source of income. It's better than nothing. The probation period essentially giving everyone a 6-month trial at a job before full employment rights kick in. Makes giving a risky hire a chance way more plausible for a company. So is this something that can't be negotiated away? Like, everybody who gets hired in Germany has a 6-month period where they don't have their full employment benefits or rights? I think that does sound interesting, like maybe a good idea, because it is notoriously difficult if you're, you know, new to the workforce, you don't have any experience to get a job. So anything that, you know, lowers the risk for the employer to hire you, that's cool. Generous welfare to young families. I would be interested to hear an elaboration on that. Because over here in the States, I feel like we do a terrible job incentivizing young people to have kids. It's so expensive. And daycare these days is unbelievable. I pay like over $600 each. I also love the shades on the outsides of the window. Are we talking about like the overhanging shades? Because I saw a whole video about that, about how those used to be common here in America. They're not very common anymore, but they're very intelligent because it blocks the heat of the sun, so it keeps the inside cooler, while also, you know, still providing the view outside the window. You don't have to close the window shade entirely. I don't even know if that's what this is talking about, but yeah. I think that's enough for today. Germany, an endlessly interesting place. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.